Karhala, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Brakate Yahweh, Brakate Yahweh Shai, Tawada, Abba, Abba, Kar Kadash. I'd like to give double honors to the elders apostles of Great Millstone that teach this truth, which I believe through the Spirit is 100% of the truth. I'm your brother Malakama, and I want to do a lesson today, which I promised to do, and Lord Will is able to get back to it. And it's going to Revealing America's, I ordered this off the Amazon, Revealing America's Dark-Skinned Past, Volume 2, the Columbian Era. And it goes into talking about how the darker tribes were already, how the tribes were already over here in the Americas when Christopher Columbus or Cristobal Colon came. And so we're going to start off in Second Ezra because it kind of leads up to showing how we got over here in the Americas prior to the Columbus era. Second Ezra chapter 13. So you have to go into the Apocrypha in order to get this. That's why a lot of those books were removed, because it gives that timeline that fills in that gap of our people. And you go into the 12 tribes of Israel, we talk about the 10 tribes. What happened to the 10 tribes and where did they go, And that's why you have to have the Apocrypha to understand. So at 2 Ezra chapter 13, verse 39, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered together another peaceable multitude unto him. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, from Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. So a lot of them were taken away captive. Not all of them, but many of them were carried away, the northern kingdom, into the Assyrian captivity. And he carried them over the water, and so came they unto another land. And they took counsel among themselves that they might leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. And what was that another country? We're talking about the Americas, the place that they said Christopher Columbus came over here and discovered, but our people were already here, the northern tribes. And that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. So they came over here in the purpose of keeping their laws, statutes, commandments, which we didn't keep in the homeland, and they didn't do it. They still started going off, and doing all type of sacrifices and all type of wickedry that they was doing that they learned from these other nations. And that's why the Lord sent the sword over here, which is in the form of Cristobal Colon, the hammer of the earth, to punish them for going the hell off, And they entered, this verse 43, and they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow place of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood that they were passed over. So the Lord held back the winds, during that time it's damn near impossible to, get over here into these lands. So the Lord held back the winds, and they have what they call it's a flow current of water that carries, boats, a lot of ships to the side of the earth. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. So it took a year and a half during that time for them to get over here. And the same region is called Azareth. Then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come, the highest shall stay in the springs and the stream again, and they may go through. Therefore sawest through thou the multitude with peace. But those that be left behind of the people are they that are found within my borders. Now when he destroyed the multitude of the nations that they gathered together, he shall defend his people that remain. So that's giving you a detail of how our people got over here prior to Cristobal Columbus coming over here. And you got to understand, when Cristobal Colon came, he knew about the Apocrypha, and he knew that our people, that there were Hebrews over here in this part of the land. Therefore, that's why when he traveled, he had Hebrew interpreters with him, because he knew they spoke a form of Hebrew. That's how he was able to communicate with them and able to do, forward his enterprise of what he had intentions to do, to come over here to get gold and profit. And so in this book, it kind of gives you a breakdown when Christopher Colon came over here in, 1493, I believe it was. And during that time, a lot of the purest forms or best forms of gold were found over here in the Americas. And they knew that because King Solomon, during his reign, he had Hiram build a lot of things, and a lot of that gold that he received came from the Americas, man. And it's gold called Ophir, which is, top quality, high grade gold, So they knew about the Americas prior to Columbus coming over here. They give you this lie saying that he was trying to find India. That's bullshit. They knew exactly where he was coming. And Columbus being an Edomite, him being the hammer of the earth, he started this whole beginning of our collapse, and them gaining their power and ruling over the earth. It says, even the king of Portugal, Don Juan, knew of these faraway lands which mariners and traders in his African service had spoken of. So they knew about the lands of Americas prior to Columbus coming. Because the Africans, Hamites, Canaanites had already been coming over here and doing trade, with the people of our nation that was here. So Columbus, he had a lot of interactions with a lot of the African mariners, and he put together maps. And like I said, he had his Hebrew interpreters, some of his Hebrew interpreters that was on the ship, so they were able to come over here. And so it's been coming over here to do trade, but the whole time his thinking was taking over the inhabitants, because he saw that they weren't a warlike people. The weapons that they had were far inferior to the Spanish weaponry. And therefore, he knew he was able to take them over and turn them into gold, turn them into slaves and use them, like far as the slave trade and for the gold, and use them to dig up the gold on the islands. It says, because he knew that slaves made more profit than gold. See, the Portuguese knew this from experience, and the Columbus knew this from his experience. With the Portuguese and their personal involvement with the African traders and the African slave trade into the Mediterranean, he had intentions from the start of enslaving the Negro inhabitants from the faraway land. So part of that slave trade was taking these slaves off the island, taking our people off the islands, and putting them in servitude and bringing them over, part of that slave trade, and bringing them over to Europe, and making them slaves in Europe, in the Spanish, in Spain, and in Great Britain, and to Portuguese. So he tried to get the Portuguese to fund his expedition, but they wouldn't do it. So that's when he went to Spain and promised the Queen of Spain, that he'd bring back all these riches, and that's how he was able to get together the necessary funds to get 3 ships to come over here and to complete his expedition and take over the inhabitants. So after Columbus' initial statement that people he encountered were friendly, he proceeds to say, "It appears to me that the people are ingenious and would be good servants." And 3 days later states, "When your highness order it, all can be taken and carried to Castile and held captives on the island itself, because with 50 men all can be subjugated and made to do everything which is desired." And that goes back into prophecy. The Lord said that he was going to, part of the curses, that, a few men is going to be able to take over and put our people into captivity, man. It's going to destroy our people. We're going to be chased. A few men are going to chase 1,000 when those curses are going to be put on us. So he came over there. The island people took him, welcomed him in, offering tokens and gifts, and all the meanwhile while they was doing that, all the meanwhile he was planning to enslave them and to convert them to Christianity. And that tells you in the scriptures too, man. While he's whole time, coming humbly, in the back of his mind, he's thinking of how he shall undermine thee, how he shall take thee over, take your houses and your homes, and eventually your whole land. Take your wives and your kids and your children. And this man is a vile man. So he's thinking about how he's going to sleep with your kids, because it's been documented how he turned, little 9 and 10, 11-year-old girls, man, into prostitutes, man. This man's wicked as hell on the Northern Kingdom. On subject trips around the island, Columbus detained more of the native people. On one trip, 5 youths came on board whom, came on there being curious, and he ordered them to be detained. So they think they can go over there and check out the ship. And he locked them on there, and he took off with them, locked in on the ship. Our people being naturally curious, especially young teenage of our people. And he sent ashore one of his houses and took 7 women and 3 children. And he said, that's how they do it. They gonna always look for the easy fight. So what they do, they're gonna take women and children, man. And you can imagine what they did to those women on those ships. And his detainees, however, had no clue of what was to come. So they didn't know what the hell was to come. So he took them on a ship. He drove them around, sailed them around the island, but he never had any intentions of dropping them back off. He was going to take them to Spain, and there's going to be slaves over there in Spain. That's the first few that he brought over. And they started to become suspicious because he did not shape a course back towards their country. So they realized then this man had pretty much captured them and took them away from their family and their homeland. So he's riding around an island in his ships, and he's saying how he can easily take over the island, man, and take over the inhabitants. He said they are very Gentile, the best people in the world, friendly and so timid that 1,000 will not stand before thee, and our men of 20. And that goes to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 30. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 30. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 30. How should one chase 1,000 and 2 put 10,000 to flight, except their rock has sold them, and the Lord Yahweh has shut them up? For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. So the Lord gave them the power to come over there and take control and dominate our people, because we were going off, man. And that's part of our curses for breaking his laws, statutes, commandments that we broke with our Father, our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Before his departure from the island, he even referred to the Native American as now subjects to the King of Castile, 22. So he already had in his mind planned that these people were nothing but going to be slaves, for the Queen of Spain. And one of the first places he made over there was La Navidad. Like I said, that's in the area up in the northern coast of, what we call today the Dominican Republic. And that's up near Puerto Plata area. And it tells you about the crew of Christopher Columbus. Many of them were criminals, harsh men that they brought over here, that the Spanish brought over here to the islands, So these wicked ass people, man. But it's a pretty good book. It gives a lot of detail on, how they came over here and to the Dominican Republic, what we call Dominican Republic, or Haiti, the island of Hispaniola, which was, just one island, but, they split it up. And that's according to prophecy, it's going to be two nations on that island, the northern and the southern tribes together. The Haitians being the tribe of Levi, and the Dominicans being tribe of Simeon. They're going to share the island. The Haitians being ruled by the French, and the Dominican being ruled by the Spaniards. That's why they both speak two different types of languages. And that was prophecy, to happen in the Bible. They're going to share the island together. And this, when Columbus came over there, man, he started butchering the people. When he came back with, on the second or third voyage, he started bringing more Spaniards over there, and with more ships, and he put the people in captivity. And this is telling about when he ripped open the bellies of pregnant women, took out the tiny infants, and cut them into pieces. Children were taken by their feet, and their heads were dashed against the rocks. And that's been prophesied in the Bible would happen, and it's going to happen to them in the end. We're going to do that to their kids. Ferocious dogs pursued the helpless victims and devoured those that they caught. And those dogs that they had during that time, I looked it up, and they were they called mastiffs. Anybody know about mastiffs? They're very big, like huge dogs. They're like pit bulls, on steroids, And that's where you get the mastiffs from, out of Spain. And they would take the dogs and feed the babies to them while they were still alive, and that's where they fed the dogs, man, our people. Said others were hung and still others were burned alive. And this is during